It being the end of the year, it seems like a good time for reflection. And I've decided to reflect not just on the year, but on my entire career riding motorcycles over the last, 8 years. I've decided it would be fun to rank every single bike I've ever owned from worst to best in terms of my opinion and how I feel about them now at this point in my journey. I want to say thank you to Quadlock for sponsoring this video. They make the best phone mounts in the world. They would definitely be at the top of my ranking all the phone mounts I've ever used list. So I have owned 22 motorcycles since I started riding motorcycles in 2016. That is 9 years of riding. So yeah, that's more than 2 motorcycles a year. And before the comments come in with, oh, you YouTubers make so much money. Oh, you blah, 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 blah. Must be nice to... No, bro. I'm not rolling in the dough. I just have good credit and make bad financial decisions. So yeah, most of these were not paid for in cash. And the other thing is I now am a motorcycle reviewer for a living, so I have to cycle through bikes. So I usually buy one, review it, and then sell it for what I paid and move on to the next one. As I said, there are 22 bikes on the list. Literally half of them are Hondas. That should not surprise you if you've been around for any amount of time. So before I jump in how I made the rankings, I basically played a giant game of Would You Rather in terms of my current perspective and which bike I would like to own right now. Bikes were better for me at different times in my career. Early on, the 250L would have ranked much higher, but now there are better bikes that do the same thing, and I'm a better rider and I can appreciate the limitations of that bike in a way I couldn't back then. So I only can really speak to my current perspective, so I'm ranking these in terms of how I feel right now. To reiterate, this is not a ranking of bike capability or reliability. This is my personal opinion based on my current perspective. Some of these bikes might be objectively better than others that are higher up, but this is all about what I'd pick to own again right now. Okay, enough preamble. Let's jump right in. The worst bikes I've ever owned, and there are 2, I'm lumping them together. The Bashan Bras 250. Now, it's not shocking when you realize these bikes, the first one I think was retailing for $1,600 when I got it, and the second right around $2,000. They're great for what they are, but if you ask me to ride one again, I don't know that I'd want to. It was very kind of P Sports to send those to me. Pretty cool milestone in my riding and YouTube video making career when they were like, hey, do you want a free bike? They're a great entry-level cheap bike, but it's not a bike that I would choose to own again right now. Definitely objectively the worst bikes I've owned. Right above that, at the 21st spot, second worst, was my 2016 Kawasaki Versa 650. At the time, I thought that thing was the bee's knees. It was the upgrade from my CB500F that I needed. It had bags, in this case hard cases. I could go camping and do some adventure-y stuff, but it turns out it wasn't a great adventure-y bike, and it just wasn't very comfortable. And people say that 650 motor lacks character. I thought it was fine, but knowing what I know now, it wouldn't be my first choice. And the other reason it's so low is just because it's so streety, and I just really enjoy riding off-road a lot more now. Number 20. And I've done something weird with this one, sorry. Third worst bike I've ever owned was my Honda CRF 450L before the modifications. So I got this bike, it was basically bone stock, and it was a twitchy, flame-outy, nearly unrideable mess. So I put a bunch of money into it, added a new ECU and exhaust and a bunch of other things, had the suspension done, and it became a very different bike. So it's on the list twice. You'll see it again later on. Number 19, this is gonna piss some of you off. The last bike that I got rid of most recently, the 2025 KTM 390 Enduro R. It's not objectively a bad motorcycle. It's good for what it is. I just really did not connect with that bike. I did not enjoy it as much as I thought I would, or really at all, so it ranks pretty low on the list for me. Number 18, my very first motorcycle, a 2016 Honda CB500F. My review of that bike was one of the first videos I ever made that actually got some traction, and one of the reasons that I decided to stop making content where I just babble endlessly about nothing and started making content that might be semi-useful. Some of you would argue I still babble endlessly about nothing, and I agree, but that's sort of my trademark, so you're here for a reason, sorry. But that was a street bike. Obviously, it doesn't rank high on my list these days because I couldn't do much with it. I was afraid to take it on the gravel, but I learned a ton on that bike. It was great for me at the time. It was an excellent first motorcycle, and that engine is great. I really like that bike. And above it on the list at number 17 is the bike I wish I had started with, and that was the 2021 Honda CB500X that I got from my brother. I bought it off of him only to make content. I didn't have any real desire to own a CB500X. I wish that was the bike I had started on. I think it would have been really perfect for me, and I would have discovered off-road riding a little bit earlier. It's not the most capable bike ever, but for the kinds of adventures that beginners go on, you know, you hitting up a gravel road, connecting long pavement sections or whatever, it was really good. So Easy to ride, very manageable. The seat height, I was intimidated by it when I was first looking at motorcycles, but having ridden it now, it's like I could flat foot both feet, so I was afraid of nothing. Again, not the most capable off-road bike, not the one I would choose high up on my list now in my life. Above the CB500X at number 16 is my 2018 Honda Grom. And you guys, if you've been around for a long time, you know I flirted with this idea of Groms a couple times. So I bought it 2018 thinking I would do like urban exploration and things, and it's just like, I don't live in a town that's big enough for that. So I made some content on it, but eventually sold it because it just sat. It didn't get ridden that much. But then later on, I got the same idea again. So number 15 on the list was my 2014 Honda Grom, which I turned into the infamous Adventure Grom. It came with like a glow-in-the-dark white wrap. I peeled all of that off, put some dirt bike handlebars on it, knobby tires, and I went camping on it. Like, I did a bunch of stuff on that bike. It was really fun to do all that, but again, the limitations, like, it was a gimmick, it was a gag, but like it never really took off. People didn't seem to care, so I eventually sold that one too. I do regret it. I wish I had that one. I often think about trying to get another one and do that same thing with the CF Moto Papio or something. Number 14 on my all-time list is the bike that really turned me into the rider that I am today, my 2016 Honda CRF 250L. That bike was my second motorcycle, and it was the bike on which I discovered my joy and love of riding in the outdoors, in the woods. It was a combination of watching too many Everride videos, thank you, Tyler, for that. And I mean that sounded sarcastic, it wasn't. And remembering how much I used to love just like driving around, exploring the woods when I was younger, putting those two passions together, and that was the bike that enabled me to do that. It was the perfect first off-road bike for me to learn on. I took it trail riding, I learned that stock tires suck, learned that stock suspension has limitations, but I really rode that bike until I could feel its limitations, and that's when I upgraded to the DRZ. But that 250L will always have a special place in my heart, and that was a bike I loved and I'm so happy I owned. But if you asked me if I wanted one today, it would be pretty far down my list. Number 13 is my 2022 Kawasaki KLR 650. This was the first year of the new KLR with the fuel injection, and I test rode one, just making a video to test ride it, and I just really enjoyed it. And I thought, I've never actually owned a KLR, and everyone has to own a KLR at some point in their adventure riding career. So I bought one, took it camping, did a bunch of stuff on it. I liked it, but at the end of the day, it was a little heavy and a little boring for me, so I didn't hang on to it as long as I thought I would, but I got the content made and all that. It was a great bike. There's nothing wrong with a KLR. There are better bikes that do the same things now, but there's something unique and charming about a KLR and just the way that it is a giant thumper that feels like you're riding a dryer. You can't kill a KLR, so if you're thinking about one, don't take this as an indictment of the KLR. I think they're great bikes. It's just, if you ask me today, it would not be high on my list. Number 12 bike on my list is maybe the biggest purchasing mistake I've ever made in terms of motorcycles, because I was enjoying my 250L all the time, thought I'm ready to go moto camping and move it to an adventure bike. So I bought a 2016 Honda Africa Twin. I went from a 250 to a 1000cc adventure bike, and that thing was not a good decision. It's a great bike, and the early ones are almost without faults other than the suspension thing and the corrosion issue with the wheels. Otherwise, they're pretty bulletproof, and it was a great bike, really fun to ride, but it was too tall and too heavy for me at that point. And I've since discovered that I don't even really like super heavy adventure bikes. I don't really gravitate towards the 1000s anymore. I really like the 700 to 900 range quite a bit more, and even like the 450s. So while that was a great bike, it was a mistake for me to buy it. It was too much for me, and it's not a bike that I would want to jump back on today. That's not true. I would jump back on it today, but it would not be my first choice based on everything that's out there in the market. But what is my first choice when it comes to phone mounts? That is quad lock. I've been using quad lock mounts since almost the very beginning of this channel. They were one of the very first companies to come on board and support me when I only had like 2,000 subscribers, and I've been using them for the entirety of my 9-year riding career, because they make the best mounts, the best phone cases, and you can't beat them. So thanks to Quad Lock for sponsoring this video. I'm so happy to be continually working with them, and I highly recommend their products, and I will put a link in the description for you so that you can pop over and get your own bespoke phone case and the most secure mounts in the world. As far as I'm concerned, I have crashed a lot and never had a phone come loose. Not once. I don't understand the people that say that they had failures. I got to assume that's a user error thing, because if you lock it in the way it's supposed to be, that thing is not coming off. You can pick up your motorcycle with it. So thanks again to Quad Lock for sponsoring this video and the channel. Here's looking forward to putting quad locks on many future bikes. Number 11 is the 2024 Honda Transalp 750. There was a lot I liked about that bike. I think it's a great machine. I think it was underrated. I think I was wrong about it from the beginning, and a lot of people are. It is not a Black Diamond Slayer, but it is a reasonably capable adventure bike. It's more streety, it's very fun on the street, it's more comfortable and more fun to ride on the street than, say, the Tenere 700 and all of that, which you'll find is actually ranked higher because it doesn't have as good of off-road chops. It's a little bit lacking in ground clearance, but I've seen people take them on the Oregon BDR and everywhere else. Transalp's a great bike for the money, and if you want a more 50-50 approach, if you're not leaning off-road like I do, there's nothing wrong with that bike. But ultimately, it wasn't for me, who I am now. Had to let that one go. Number 10, and you guys haven't even seen this one yet. This is like a surprise reveal. I have in the garage a 2004 Suzuki DRZ 400S. Paid $3 grand for that 2004 because I'm gonna make a point and compare it to the DRZ 4S, but I haven't made that video yet, so keep it under your hat. It's largely speculation because I haven't ridden it a ton, but number 10 on my list right now is the Suzuki DRZ 400S, the 2004. Number 9, speaking of speculation, is the other bike that's in my garage that you haven't really seen, and that's a 2025 KTM 390 Adventure R. I have ridden it a little, and based on that, I just like it so much more than the Enduro. I don't know why. It's a subjective thing. On paper, they're very similar, but the 390 Adventure R makes so much more sense to me, and I'm willing to deal with the necessary compromises of that machine in an adventure bike versus they just feel like limitations in a dual sport bike. So I'm putting that one right now tentatively at number 9 on my all-time list. We'll see what happens when I get a little bit more time on it. Number 8 on my all-time list is the bike I took on my very first BDR, my 2020 Husqvarna Norden 901. I liked that bike a lot, super fun. It was maybe a little fast for me at the time, but it's a great bike, nothing wrong with it. It just did not jive with the audience, and that was when I sort of realized that more high performance, more expensive bikes are not really what the majority of you are interested in. It's not why you're here. It's not what I built this channel on, so it makes sense. I didn't keep that one forever, but it was a super fun bike. I really enjoyed riding it, and it's when it sort of ignited my love for the middleweight adventure bike. Just above that, number 7, and this one is hard to classify against the others because it doesn't really belong on this list, but I said every bike I've ever owned. So number 7 is my 2023 Honda CR F250F. That's a dirt bike. I bought that after my first trip to Canada to the XTADV event. Really enjoyed riding that bike so much that I had to get one of my own. And what I love about it is it's very easy to ride, very approachable, low maintenance. It is air cooled, but I feel confident taking it just about anywhere. It's got enough power, it's easy to ride, it's approachable, it's bulletproof, reliable, it's lightweight, and it's a great little bike. So I'm putting it at number 7 on this list. Number 6 on this list, I told you it was coming back. Number 6 bike is my Honda CRF 450L again, but this time after the modifications. With the new ECU and an exhaust, that bike was a very different animal, and I really enjoyed riding it off-road. Super fun off-road, very easy to get over difficult things. And then when I had the suspension done, it was even better. But at the end of the day, I want a bike I can spend a little bit more time on the highway with if I need to, and that thing with the short maintenance intervals and just the finicky high performance nature of it, I had to let that one go. But I didn't let it go far. Duck Fan bought it, and I have a standing agreement with him that if he ever sells it, I get first dibs, because I really did enjoy it after I put all the mods into it, but ultimately decided that maybe that's a little overkill for what I want to do. Number 5, we're getting into the good stuff. Top 5 is my 2020 Yamaha Tenere 700. That bike was awesome. There's a lot to love about the Tenere. It's a super fun bike. We rode that one to Canada and back, so I've done hours and hours and hours on the highway and freeway on that bike, including a straight shot 12 hours back after Travis broke his leg. It was fun to ride off-road. It was not super great on the highway, but it was fine. Weirdly, like, the tank felt small. It's like I felt like I had to get gas a lot more on that bike, even though I know it's not that much smaller. So it wouldn't be my first choice for a long road trip, but it's definitely tolerable and more so than a smaller dual sport. It's a great bike all around. I love that bike. I miss that bike. It was awesome. It looked awesome. I enjoyed riding it. Number 4, we're starting to get into bikes I wish I'd never sold, was my KTM 790 Adventure. I actually really liked that bike. I took it on the NorCal BDR, it's for pirates. I feel like it really hits a sweet spot in terms of capability for money, because you get the fancier electronics from the higher end models. You get a pretty good suspension even though it's not adjustable, and I only paid $11,000 for that bike, and they're even cheaper now depending on where you go. The new 790, not the old ones that had the notorious issues, the new ones that are made in China seem to be a little better, have better quality control. They supposedly addressed that camshaft issue, but I really enjoyed riding that bike, and it felt super confidence inspiring off the road, low center of gravity, gravity. It had a great amount of power. It was super fun. I don't know why anyone would want an 890 when that 790 is so much cheaper and better, other than, you know, you just need more suspension, but most of us don't need a better bike than that 790. It's pretty good for us mere mortals. Number 3, and you're like doing in your head like, wait, what bikes does he not mention? Number 3 is my 2024 CF Moto Ibex 450. That thing is awesome. When I test rode it in South Dakota, I was like, I gotta get one of these. It's fantastic, and we've managed to work out a deal, CF Moto and I, and so I am keeping the one that's in my garage. That will be mine going forward. I love that CF Moto Ibex 450. It is a great combination of lightweight and just super fun capability. If only it had cruise control, it would be like my favorite bike ever, because it's not bad to ride on the highway, but when you leave the pavement, like I did some gnarly stuff in Death Valley, and it was fine, it was great. Confidence inspiring. I love that Ibex 450. I love riding it. It feels just so refined and well put together. I did not expect to love it. I remember when they were first announced, I was like, what the hell is a CF Moto and why do I care? But man, the second I swung a leg over that bike, I fell in love with it. And the best part is that bike's only $6,500. It is an insane amount of bike for that money. I love that bike. I'm happy it's going to be in the garage for a while. No plans to get rid of that one. There's only really 2 significant bikes left. Number 2 is the bike I regret selling the most. And the reason why I've been very excited to be testing the DRZ4S, and honestly why I bought that 2004 DRZ 400S. Number 2 is my 2020 Suzuki DRZ 400S. It was black, it had black wheels. I had that thing set up exactly the way I liked it, and I was stupid to sell it. I sold it because I was like, I'm getting better as a rider. I need to get a more powerful bike. Just like with the Africa Twin purchase, I made the mistake of thinking that a better bike would make me a better rider. So I sold that and bought my CRF 450L. And I wish I had never done that, because getting back on a DRZ is like coming home. It's exactly the bike that I need at this skill level, at my intermediate sort of progression. I had not outgrown it, and I was not ready for that much more high performance, high strung bike, if I'm being perfectly honest. And I regret selling it. And if I ever get a chance to get that one back, well, I would probably take it. That's why I'm so excited about the new DRZ 4S, and that's why I was so disappointed that they didn't change the few things that I wanted to see changed on that bike, because my 2020 was so close to perfection. And number 1, my favorite bike I've ever owned. You've probably guessed it already if you've been around for any amount of time by its notable absence lower down, but my 2021 Honda CRF 300L Rally. I bought that bike just to make content. I bought it from Slow Eddie with the agreement that I would sell it back to him in a year. I just wanted to make content on it. I was looking for something that was in high demand. They were hard to get. He agreed to sell it to me. I still have it. I love that bike. It was great from the beginning. It's the perfect amount of power. I love the bigger fuel tank. It feels lighter than it is. It's a confidence-inspiring bike that I would take just about anywhere. And once I upgraded the suspension, it was even better, night and day. And I put a new exhaust on it. I haven't done the big bore kit or anything, but I've thought about it if I end up keeping it, having Ari do that. CRF300LBigBore.com. Ari Hennig's got his own side business. Pretty cool. If I was a motorcycle, I feel like I would be a CRF 300L Rally. So that is my favorite bike I've ever owned, and it's still sitting in my garage. That's the 22 motorcycles that I've owned over the course of the last 9 years. What is your favorite motorcycle of all time, and what is your biggest regret? What's a bike that you bought and either realized you shouldn't have bought, or what's a bike that you sold that you wish you could still have? Let us know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane. I certainly did. It was fun to go back and reflect on my journey and all the motorcycles I've owned. Looking forward to another 20 motorcycles over the next 10 years. Thank you for watching, and thanks to Quadlock for sponsoring this video. And as always, please do not forget to be excellent to each other. Thank you.
Excellent!